They are tapping into a real feeling amongst people that there's been so much austerity for 3 years. This is just a charge too far.
Well, basically it's a charge which we have to impose. It's part of the deal that the previous government did with the IMF. It must be here in 2012, and it will be. It is €100, and I appreciate some people would have serious difficulties in paying that. We acknowledge that. But the facts are over 200,000 people will be exempted from the charge. There is nobody listening tonight who's a local authority tenant who will pay this charge. There is nobody living in rented accommodation tonight who will pay this charge. There is nobody who's getting mortgage interest subsidy from the HSE will be paying this charge. And the issue which Deputy Daly raised last night, the question of people living in homes with pirate, they're being looked at also. So there will be significant numbers of people who won't pay. But yes, everybody else will have to pay, and it will be raising €160 million ring-fenced for local authority, for housing estates, for cutting the grass, for filling the potholes, for looking after the local needs of areas. This is where the money is going to.
OK, Clare Daly, what the Minister for State is saying is that the most vulnerable won't have to pay it. So why are you doing this today?
Sure, that is just total and utter nonsense. People on social welfare have to pay this, people on a state pension, people whose homes are in negative equity, people who are hardly making any ends meet as it is now. Everybody is liable to this, as the Minister says. We did table amendments last night to try and exclude those people, but the government chose to ignore that. And I find it a bit ironic, given last week that they made such claim about protecting people on primary social welfare rates, that they're targeting these people now again with these taxes. It's an absolute disgrace. In actual fact, the point has been made that elderly people and poorer people actually have to pay more, because if you don't pay online, you've got to pay a €10 charge to go in and pay in your local authority.
That's not actually true. The €10 charge does not apply to the principal private residence. You will have to pay online, that is true, or you can post it in the post, you can pay it by postal order, you can pay it by cheque. But the biggest and the most ridiculous amendment that was put forward last night, even Joe Stalin would kick you out of his Socialist Party, that people who earn less than 150,000 will be exempt from this charge. You know, you've got to live in the real world. You cannot encourage people, as a Member of Parliament elected by the people with your mandate, to say they must go to jail and pay more than the €100.
Jail is not on the cards at the moment,
but that's
Minister,
what you're talking about.
No, we're not. People are telling
us,
if you've listened to any of the phone talk shows over the course of the past number of days, ordinary people are telling you that they simply haven't got the means to pay this, and they understand that if they start paying it, it's going to lead to many hundreds more euros per year, which they can't afford.
We have a mandate from the people to govern. This is a democratic decision made last night by our Parliament, and your duty bound as a member of the Oireachtas to urge people, notwithstanding your opposition, to pay. The point is that you can pay over 4 different periods of the year.
Let's look at democracy.
But can we make the point, if you don't pay, you're encouraging people to even be in a worse situation.
Well, let's look at two things here, right? And first of all, in terms of democracy, your party contested this election where you specifically said you would oppose a flat charge based on, for the reasons that we're outlining now, that it's regressive, it penalises the poorest people, it's not in that sense fair. Can I finish the point?
Sure, of course,
in terms of the penalties, it's quite clear that the measures your government are imposing, talking about substantial fines and so on, really indicate to people that this isn't about €100, but it's about laying the basis for a new tier of
We've made it very clear that this is an interim charge. Yes, we are bringing in a property tax, and you as a socialist should be supporting a property tax, because it will be based on the wealth that people have, the extent of the property that they own, and it will be proportionate to that and their income. That is what we're doing.
There are a number, like loads of European countries, Clare, really support a property tax. A lot of socialist parties do as well. Are you saying, I just want to clarify this because I was confused today, are you saying you're against any type of property tax on a home?
On a family home, yes,
irrespective if it's worth 10 million?
Yes, we are. And we would look at it like this. Let's look at it, right? There are the top 5% of people in Ireland have a combined wealth of €219 billion, excluding their family homes. So we think that those people should be levied a wealth tax or an assets tax, 1% of that, which would still leave them fabulously wealthy, would generate... Sorry, Minister, can I finish the point? I'm talking about a wealth tax.
That's what it is.
On their assets. That's their assets, excluding the family home. The point Miriam asked me was, do we support a tax on the family home? And the answer is no, we don't.
Can
I finish the point? No, can I just finish the point?
If your greatest asset is your wealth, and we're going to tax that fairly, equitably, and
but
you
you're
and
not,
everybody
because
else
you haven't
will be
introduced a
able
wealth
to,
tax.
But that's
and
what
people's
we're introducing
homes,
a property tax.
You're not.
We are.
Ordinary
Well,
people's homes are in negative equity. People can't afford their mortgages.
People
Their
in
houses are
negative
collapsing
equity.
with
Yep,
pyrite
sure. Can I answer that?
and all
Yeah.
the rest of it.
Okay,
How the
Claire,
hell could they
Claire, let
pay
him
another
answer
tax?
that.
Thank you.
So-
People in negative equity, people who bought houses between the 2004 and 2008, have got an increased allowance this year, where the minimum a couple over that period, provided they borrowed, and they did borrow a lot, will be saving €900 as a result of our budget. So, notwithstanding the fact that they will have to pay, they are better off as a result of our budget because we're looking after their needs in a better way. And again,
I think
go
it's
back to
hard.
the
Can I just say,
point.
Minister, I think a moment there are a lot of people tonight actually tweeted me on Twitter and they were saying, look, Miriam, we already pay, you know, the refuse charges, there's storage,
Yes.
there's VAT on everything. There are a lot of hard-pressed people out
Of course there are.
who
Of course there
are
are.
genuinely worried about this house.
I actually absolutely accept that. This is an interim charge. We will be bringing in a property tax, and it will be based on fairness and equity, the wealth that people have and their ability to pay. We don't like what we have to do, but we have to do it. We have to make the tough decisions. We were elected to run this country, get out of the mess that it's in. Tough decisions are nice. If you heard the head of the IMF today say they're worried about an international recession, the head of the ECB today said there's no external
But
saviour.
it's all
We have to
about
put our property
choices. You fought this election saying you wouldn't do what you've now done, and ordinary people are telling you that it is a step too far. They can't afford it. Many people are already in danger of losing their home, and there's no comfort in saying that this is an interim charge. Don't worry about it. We're going to bring in a property tax later. That
We are,
frightens
yes.
the life out of people, because the ESRI has said that the average property tax on a standard family home is going to be in the region of about €800. So there's no comfort in that, and that's why people are making a stand now, because if they don't make a stand now, that's the type of levy
property
that they will
tax-
be facing
the
very, very
property
soon, and they
tax
just
will be
can't
based
afford it.
on the ability of people to pay and the value of the property that they own. It will be fair.
How can we
It will
believe
be.
you when you
Well,
haven't done it with this one? Why
well,
should
we
it be
couldn't
any
have the
different
time
with
to
the
put
next?
it in,
You
Clare.
didn't have
We're
the
only in
time to
powers
put
so
it in.
smart. We didn't. No,
You
we
didn't,
didn't.
and you couldn't have the time to put a mere 1% on the wealthy.
Minister Hogan is bringing in an interdepartment review group that will look at all of these issues. You mustn't forget that if we follow your line, that we would have to raise 18 billion in the next year. We're talking about raising 160 million in this charge. Your logic means that we don't pay back the IMF, the country goes bust, our infrastructure
my
collapses.
logic is
and
that
that's
you
it.
ask the
That's it.
people at the tops of Irish society, the top 10,000 earners
we are taxing
have an
them.
income of
They are being
6 billion.
taxed.
Well, they are, but
Yeah.
they're only paying about 29% effective
Well,
rate.
the
We're saying,
OECD
why
says
don't you
we-
up that
the
to
O-
40%?
the OECD
They'd still
says
be
that our
fabulously
tax
wealthy, and
system
you wouldn't need to do
is the
this.
most
Let's get off the
progressive in
taxes
Europe.
now. On the property tax. So the other thing, Clare, I was wondering, even looking there, I suppose, about Joe in the mid-90s, isn't it dangerous that somebody like you would suggest that people should maybe flout the law and not pay it, and they might end up in a worse state with a huge fine, and you'd be like a cause celeb, you'd be, you know, quite famous, going to prison for a little while, and they would just be in dire financial debt if they do this.
Yeah, well, there is no prison being spoken about here, and I think the reality is that many people have already decided through economic necessity or on a point of principle that they won't be paying this. I think it's responsible for us. Can I finish,
The RT
Fergus,
News
please?
today was that you will go to jail.
Well,
that's what you're saying.
No, well, I didn't
Well,
say
right,
that.
isn't
Nobody
that what the
said.
news?
Sure,
That's
media
what's on
will
the news.
spin things. Can I answer the question that I was asked? I think it's the responsible attitude of people who got elected on a platform of saying that we'd be in opposition to this, to stand by the people who voted for this and say, yes, we'll fight this alongside you, with you, every stage of the way, because otherwise people will be picked off and isolated. So it's the responsible thing to
one
build
line,
a
'cause I've
campaign
run
for
out of time. One
grassroots
line.
up.
We've got to put our country right. This is one of the ways we're going to do it.
Okay. Clare, Daly, Minister, thank you for coming. Appreciate, because you both gave up other things to come here. Thank you both very much. Richard.